And so welcome to Art 116 this morning. And so let me do the screen share and take us right to, what am I in right now? I guess I'm in this thing. So I'm going to share this, which takes me up to here. I have to get here so I can go to the Black Lives protesters. Let's see, that's not the one. US Capitol riot, that's not the one. Oh, come on, what happened to me here? This is not the one I was interested in. Let me go back one of these. Okay, so can you guys see something on the screen that says the lies we tell ourselves about race? Could you see that on the screen? I'm going to go back into it again and see if I can get to that thing. Okay, hit the share. Okay, this is what I want to do. Please turn up your volumes so you can hear this thing. I wanted to go ahead and play this thing by Sam Sanders for us. It's an audio clip, and so here it comes. I'm going to turn up my own volume because I've been finding that my thing resets to a low volume every night, which is a bummer. Here we go.
There's been a lot of talk over the last few days about just what that attack on the Capitol says about America. We heard the same words over and over again. This is not who we are. But our next guest says it is. NPR's Sam Sanders, host of It's Been a Minute, wrote a piece about this on npr.org, and he joins us now. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how are you, Tanya?
I am well, thanks. So Republican Ben Sasse of Nebraska actually said, our kids need to know this isn't what America is. And you call that sentiment a lie.
I think it is a lie. Yes, I do.
Say more.
You know, I think that since this country's founding, America has been a country built on racial hierarchy and exploitation and subjugation. And a lot of that history is still present. And we don't want to talk about it or examine just how big of a factor race is in American life still in 2021. And flashpoints like the insurrection last week are just the latest chapter in a book that we've been writing for decades and centuries now. When I look at those images from last week, one of the protesters was trotting a Confederate flag through the Capitol. There was a noose outside of the Capitol, and some of those folks had on t-shirts that read Civil War. It's not new, it's with us. And it is who we are, it's who we have been.
You know what's also interesting is the perspective. Your piece was shared on Twitter more than 5,000 times, and there are different reactions based on race. So Black people responded as if you were basically preaching to the choir, and others feel taken aback by this idea. How does this lie that you write about play out every day for you?
The lie plays out in the field that I'm in, constantly finding ways to speak truth through my work. We talked about the insurrection on my show last weekend, and I got some emails from some listeners basically saying, well, it's not that bad. It's not really about this, particularly from white listeners, from white readers. I think some of them might feel that if they really speak to the reality of race in this country, it implicates them too. To which I say, yeah, it does. It implicates all of us. But how do we move past it and get better until we acknowledge that?
That's the big question. If this attack represents an element of who we are, and some people can see it while others cannot, how do we actually move forward?
I think there's a few things. I think we have to start drawing some through lines through the things that are happening in this country. Charlottesville, the church shooting in Charleston, the synagogue shooting in Pennsylvania. These are events that are about race, and it is racial violence. This is a through line and a pattern that stretches back through our history. So one, we've got to do that. And two, I think that when these racial flashpoints arise, we have to fight the urge to do things that would keep us from speaking truth. A thing that I notice a lot when there is racial trauma that happens in America, a lot of good-hearted folks, a lot of good-hearted white folks, they want to absorb a community's pain. And I think a lot of white people think that once they see that pain, they feel like they've done something, but they actually haven't done anything. There is no action. And so what I wanted to do with this piece was to not just perform Black grief again, but to challenge the quote unquote good white people out there to start asking themselves, how they perpetuate lies about race that continue to allow racism to run this society.
Well, you can read Sam's essay at npr.org. And Sam, thank you so much for this article.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it.
Sam Sanders is host of NPR's It's Been a Minute. And now more from NPR.
Uh-oh.
Live from NPR News. I'm
No,
Amy
no, no.
Schuster
Just
saying,
stop that. I
the
got to go
US
back
House
there
is
and
now
stop
debating
that
whether
again.
to impeach
Okay.
President Donald Trump for a historic second.
I
There's
got
been a lot of talk over the
Stop.
last.
Don't you guys just stop? Okay, thank you. I think I've stopped it this time. So that was what I wanted to play for you. It's really interesting because I've been teaching this unit on Martin Luther King Day and civil rights and social justice for 8 years now. And I've been thinking about it for 30 years. And to hear someone say, it's really interesting for well-meaning, nice white folks to, try to take on and feel the pain of an event or something like that, but then not do anything about it, not change, not internalize it as something. I mean, that's really the challenge. And, it's always been the case that, the majority in this country, white people, don't seem to be able to change or take on that pain. We don't live this as a truth, as our own lives on a daily basis. We can't live in somebody else's skin. That it's an existential paradox, if you want to get into the philosophy of it. It's really hard to see the world through somebody else's eyes, to live the world through somebody else's experiences when they're not your own. And that's what we endeavor to do here in college. We try to expose ourselves to different ideas and try to build that into our own psyche and our own experience. Let's see. I just wanted to see if I was actually recording this. I am recording this. That's good. Okay, so I want to give you guys any chance to respond to this. And you don't have to, because this is, again, like drinking from the fire hose. A lot of us have no idea what to say, and we can't come up with anything that's profound to say about this. And so as artists, as designers in a basic design color theory class dealing with graphic design in this thing, it gives you a little bit more time. It gives you 2 weeks to consider the ideas, to try to put together something, some kind of an expression that makes a comment on this based on the marriage of an image with some kind of words. And so that's what we're dealing with today. Is there anybody here who wants to, maybe show the project that you're working on? And it doesn't have to be finished. It can be in any state of unfinishedness. And you can do it as a screen share. I'm just going to go ahead and enable multiple screen sharing to happen. So now that has been clicked on so that that's available for you. Please go ahead and unmute your mic. Please step forward and do that. And of course, oh, look at that. There's somebody here. Gabrielle, what's up?
Hi. So I kind of put my picture together a little bit.
Yeah, this would be fantastic. So you can screen share. You can take over the screen and hit the screen share button. Try to find your open document on your desktop and then hit share again on the blue button, and then it will share it for us.
How do you do it again? I'm sorry.
Well, is your document open on your desktop?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
I have an iPad, so I just have to pull out of this screen and then go to the next one.
Okay. And then if you can click on your document as an icon, just floating on your desktop with all the other open documents, and then there should be somewhere another share button. It might be green or it might be blue, and you have to click that to enable screen sharing to actually happen once you've selected your document.
Okay.
And Adriel, what's up? Did you have a question while we're working on this?
Oh, I just hold on. Usually you have to hit share screen first before you click your document, and it's at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
Okay. And then but it keeps coming up and saying everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Enable do not disturb to prevent unexpected notifications.
I guess we're going to have to accept that. It doesn't sound like a threat to me. I think it's just giving you some, it lets you know what's going on. And I won't hurt this. I won't hold it against you. I won't corrupt your your data or your image.
I think.
Here it comes. There it is. Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about this, won't you? I'm going to minimize us.
I know that it's the fist up in the air stands for the Black Lives Matter, and the injustice that everybody, not everybody, but that we seem to be in recently in regards to the race against the unjust things that are happening. And so I really wanted to kind of capture the emotional in regards to that scenario where, you know, we still raise our fists up and we still say, you know, we're going to stand against this. We aren't okay with the way you've been doing things.
This is really cool. I love a lot of what you've got going here, and let's talk about it. Let's see. First of all, you've got this white kind of ghostly blob in the background, which is interesting, and I'm going to ask you about that. We've got the clenched fist as the image in which superimposed on that, there are lots of photographs of folks
Yes.
standing up, protesting, doing kinds of stuff, locking arms together. That's really cool. Ever since I've been alive, the raised black fist has been a protest symbol. It went all the way back to the Olympics in 1968. It went back to the Black Panthers in the 1960s in San Francisco and Oakland. So it's been with us for 50 years or more. It's not just a recent phenomenon, but it's good that Black Lives Matter is also using it. It continues then to be a potent image, and it's an image that we can all understand. I like the fact that all the imagery is in black and white, and that for the most part, it is a lot of lower key imagery. We were talking about value last quarter, and maybe a lot of you guys weren't in the class, but value is high key to low key shades of gray. And this is all at medium gray or lower. So it has kind of a dark, a kind of black or African American cast to it because it's actually in the low key range of value. So that's all of the technical stuff for the image. Then we've got the text on either side. We stand against racism. And when you say stand in all caps, then it emphasizes it. And so I placed emphasis on it when I read it. We stand against racism and social injustice, which is great. My only thing is that I would love to pull that stuff kind of closer together because they're like individual floating text boxes, and they've got so much space in between them that they don't have a lot of visual linkage linking them together so that they flow into each other just a little bit better, or that they integrate just a slightly tiny bit better with the image. So I'd like to just suggest, if possible, to somehow nudge this stuff closer. If all of this text is in two text boxes, and so we've got the line spacing, the usual line spacing between lines in the text, we might want to try to pull the lines closer together. You know, if there's an actual extra line spacing in between each one, we might want to pull that out so that things start to pull together more. But I like it. I want to comment on the font that you chose. It is a it's somewhere between a sans serif font and a novelty font because it's kind of like handwriting. And I can't remember the name of this font, but it feels kind of hip and protesty and that kind of thing. Do you know what the name of this font is by any
I
chance?
don't right off the top of my head. I was trying to think of it and cannot think of it what it was.
When you were flipping through fonts and trying different fonts out on your message, and this one came up, what was it about it that spoke to you? Did it have a certain, a freshness? Did it feel like something that was very contemporary and today about it?
Honestly, I actually thought the complete opposite when I came across this font.
Yeah.
To me, the way in the letters you can see that there are just those little minor bits and cracks, but if you keep going, it still completes the wholeness of the letter. And when I saw that, it made me think of old historical books type of deal, like how the pages are just slightly chipped and cracked, but it's still together as a whole. And I guess that kind of showed and went along with my message for the statement of the picture.
Okay, I see that. I hear that now. I see the edges of the letters. I might even suggest going bigger with your point size. If they are in 48 point, maybe take it up to 60 or 72. And we can go beyond that. We can, just kind of highlight a word and then type in our own point size there. And you can type in 120 or 140 and then hit enter, and it will apply that point size to the letters. So you can make them big. And I would love, they seem isolated to me and floating alone, each word by itself. And I'd really like to get, even though, it's a vertical kind of column of text that you have to read, we stand against, it's a vertical thing that descends. And then on the other side, racism and social justice. And I would just love to possibly suggest pulling those together tighter, either by making each individual word bigger or trying to reduce as much as possible the spacing between the words. And you don't have to, that's just a suggestion from a guy who thinks he knows something about graphic design, but may not. Does anybody else have any reactions, helpful, constructive criticism? Do you guys get what she's trying to say here? And is it landing in a positive and, kind of productive way with this message? Anybody at all?
Well, I know that the font is Papyrus, if anyone wanted to know. And then I really like it, actually. I like the message that's coming across. I think that it comes out pretty strong. I actually don't mind the space in between the words. To me, it makes the message almost more powerful because it's so isolated and it seems like it's more drawn out. It really puts it more into perspective, especially with the image in the middle being almost a bit small in comparison, which I actually do like. It makes the words stand out a lot more on top of it.
Riley, you make a really wonderful point there. The idea that we, and then I take a breath, stand, and then I take another pause against, it makes really strong individual statements of words that maybe, you even just have to slow down the message to get the words to actually land on somebody's consciousness just a little bit harder. And so, yes, a case can be made for that kind of spacing in there. And so, anyway, Gabrielle, I hope that this gives you some, good feedback on this particular project and maybe helps inspire any other nudging that you might want to do. Although you don't have to change a thing. You've done plenty with this project already.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to, comment or anything, even if the image has gone off the screen? Otherwise, we'll keep moving on. If there's anybody else who happens to have their project sort of started anyway and would like a little bit of visual feedback like what we just did, I hope that wasn't too traumatic. Please go ahead and unmute your mic and let me know. And you can actually share screen with us because the share screen for everybody has been enabled at this point. And if not, I've got some projects open on my desktop that I can go to play with. Emily is here. Hey, Emily.
Hi, I can show mine.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
I might need some help understanding what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, you need the document needs to be open on your desktop kind of even before you joined this thing so that you can do share screen, and it should appear as one of the
Oh, okay.
items on your desktop. So you click on it to highlight it, and then you click on share one more time, and then it should come up on the screen.
Okay, is it there?
It might be coming. It takes a minute, so there's a little delay. Jordan and Kelsey is here. I'm taking attendance while things are happening. It hasn't arrived yet. After you highlight it, and then somewhere on your screen, there's probably one more green or blue share button that you have to hit to make it happen.
I think it's just loading really slowly.
Okay, it must be a big darn thing you've done there. Riley's here. Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. Okay. Emily, where's Emily? There's Emily. Okay, we're all here now. Okay, Emily has started screen sharing, and she must have such a big file that it's taking forever for it to load. Hey, oh my God, George Floyd. Emily, could you tell us a little bit about this piece?
Well, I did this because, as you had mentioned earlier, how we can't really put ourselves in other people's shoes. But I think there is a point of empathy where people can feel for others. And I, as a mother, can understand that this was an unnecessary death. And if it had been my son, then I would be extremely upset, extremely angry. So I can relate as a mother that somebody's baby died.
Yes, okay, this is good. So what I'm seeing here on the screen is a George Floyd mural that's been painted on the side of a building. I see the sidewalk, I see the candles, and kind of a memorial installation down on the sidewalk. And then I see your text that you have dropped in here, and this is good. This is fantastic. You are playing with text and multiple text boxes with transparent background, no background, and no edge, no border on the text boxes. So I'm going to ask you just a couple technical questions. Like on the left side, I see all mothers were summoned when. So I see all of those words. Is that in one text box, or is that in multiple text boxes over there?
No, every word is individual.
Every word is individual. So you want to right click on those if you haven't done it yet, and format each and every one of them as a tight text format so that they can really be pushed anywhere you want them to without them snapping back. Have you had any trouble pushing the text boxes around and getting them to group for you?
No, I haven't had any trouble.
Good, fantastic. Okay, so when I look at a lot of text like this, first I read the two text clouds of words. So all mothers were summoned when George Floyd called out for his mama. We've got two major text boxes on either side of his head. And then it's really interesting that you're using a font that is a fairly simple modern font. It's a sans serif font. You've put green, you've applied green to the big text in the words mother and mama. So that really does reinforce it and echo it from right to left. Plus it picks up on some of the greens that are in the outside edges of the mural that I see. So from a color standpoint, you're using color to unify, which is really good. Does anybody else, after kind of spending some time with this and looking at it, do you have any questions, comments, any thing that you might make a suggestion about, anything like that?
I was just gonna say that me as well, being a mom of 2 boys myself, like, I can see and understand the message that you're putting out for everybody, and it speaks volumes, you know, like, it was a very wrong and unnecessary death, and I can't imagine what his mom is going through or has been through or anything else. So I just want to say really good job. This is a really good piece.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I love the painting, and the painting also carries all kinds of you know, message about, you know, him being a person with dignity and a person whose life had worth to it. I love the large flowers on either side of his face. I like some of the textures in the flowers that I think I'm picking up some of those textures in the lines and textures of his face too, from his forehead to his nose and the lines under his eyes, kind of the cheekbones and stuff, and on his lips. I'm picking up a lot of those similar kinds of textures. So all of that linear texture really helps to pull the composition together, not just the image of the flowers, not just the photographic image, you know, of his face, but the actual textures that the artist put in there. So that's good. Getting back to the text, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to look for alignments in your words so that, you know, a word that is sitting on a line over on the left-hand side might carry through visually to being on the same level or on the same line over on the right side. And I'm not seeing that that's possible because, you know, we start off with all and then drop down to mothers, which is really big. And I was looking over to the right side to see if George Floyd, the name, could somehow line up on the same level, or, you know, so that it scans and sort of has some visual linkage across the thing. And I'm also intrigued by the idea of trying to line up mother on the left with mama on the right. But you know, that might be interesting, but I don't think it's going to actually work. I do like the fact that you've used green to unify left and right and the two words mother and mama. I really like that. So that's super strong, and we want to keep that for sure. Does anybody else kind of see those visual linkages as part of the composition and see some of those strengths in the composition? Maybe the line that starts we're summoned on the left, and then the other line on the right that says called out for his, maybe if those two kind of landed on exactly the same horizontal axis, the same baseline, that could maybe pull things a little bit closer together. You know, I'm just trying to see, we've got some floating you know, words on the left, and they don't exactly line up with any of the floating words on the right. And I'm, as an editor, as a graphic designer, I'm always looking for opportunities to create visual connections and visual flow on certain, you know, alignments through the composition, and that might happen, but it just might not be possible. So try it and see, but otherwise don't worry about it too much, because this is actually a really good project. And really, for 20 points, for a 20 or 30 point project, I'll probably bump this up to 30. This is fantastic. This is really good, and I'm proud of you for doing this.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wanted to chime in on this one? Either because you know or feel something about the George Floyd murder in particular, or how this resonates or relates to the Martin Luther King holiday coming up and civil rights. And then possibly this last little wrinkle that kind of is the subtext. It really kind of is the institutional racism that's baked into American culture. The insurrection at the Capitol last week. So many people have commented on the guy running around inside the Capitol building with the Confederate flag. And it just, a lot of white people, it doesn't even bother them, or they don't even get it. And for a lot of Black people, it really, really just cuts deep and, you know, annoys that, you know, we continue to play with this symbol of the lost side, the lost cause, you know, of the Civil War. So anyway, thank you for sharing this one. You can hit stop share now, and it'll come back to me. Thank you very much, Emily. Okay, and then yeah, is there anybody else who wants to play our game today? Because this is actually becoming a really good game. You guys are doing a great job with this. Some of you may not have jumped in as fast with this project and are still trying to find your way, trying to find your voice, and maybe still playing with how this works in Microsoft Word to bring in an image, to import an image into a Microsoft document, and then to play with text boxes and start to push them around and see how you can get them to fit and align with certain elements in the image. So that could be a thing. So last chance for anybody else to like unmute your mic and play our game. And otherwise, I'm going to take over and do this for another 5 minutes. And then we're going to call this a day for today, because we're making little tiny baby steps. We're advancing this. We're starting to understand how graphic design works as an overall composition of image and text. And that's good. Let me go ahead and screen share again. I'm going to go back to my little document. So I have played with many, many pages now. I just kind of keep running this down and playing with different images on different pages in one Word document. So this is a multiple page long document now. This is one that I was working on Monday. And this was the one that I suggested last week, playing with the concept, you know, of American Carnage. And then I found this image today. This was in the Sam Sanders piece on NPR. And I thought, well, I haven't seen this image before. And this was really interesting to me because we've got kind of some symbolic structure here with a doorway or a windowway, I'm not exactly sure what it is, into the US Capitol building. And we've got a lot of the protesters in the foreground with an American flag. And it's really interesting to me that we've got this guy in a suit, in a dark suit with a tie, shirt and tie, white shirt, gray tie, and his COVID mask on. But his COVID mask, of course, is an American flag COVID mask. And his arms outstretched like this. This is really cool because he's either trying to block the protesters or he's trying to direct traffic. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here with this. But he's, in his cruciform stance, he's kind of, taking on almost the pose of Jesus on the cross, because that's a cruciform kind of a pose too. And so it's just fascinating, the different kinds of imagery and possible symbolism that you can find in here. Now, from a technical composition standpoint, I've got a dark negative space up here that is the opening, the doorway to the Capitol. And so this would give me a dark place to put some text that would be like in reverse text right here if I was going to just try to contain myself in this place with some text. Otherwise, I am going to be challenged to do something with text because I've got this higher key thing with multiple jagged lines running through it. And this is a really difficult, challenging place to put either high key text or black text because there's all of this busy textural stuff that's happening in the background. So it's really hard to make text look legible in this area. And it won't run from these from this architectural element here into the darkness, because something that is low key over here is going to get lost over here. Something that's high key over here is going to get lost over here. So you kind of have to confine putting your text block into like either the darkness here or this area of light, over on this side that isn't quite so busy. So those are the kinds of just, compositional things that I'm picking up on in a photograph that I'm looking for when I'm trying to combine text and image? Are there opportunities within the image that I can overlap the text? Because overlapping the text into the image makes a much stronger visual connection than if I ran the text completely outside of the image. And some of you have already found that, yes, it does make a really much stronger visual connection, visual linkage, when you can overlap or run the text, completely on top of or inside some aspect or area of your image. So that would be, kind of helpful. Here's my guy that I didn't actually copy until this morning, because so many people were talking about how strange that, even during the Civil War, the Confederates never got to the nation's capital, and a Confederate flag has never been, inside the nation's capital carried by an intruder or anything until now. So there's that one. Oh, and I guess I didn't copy the other one. And this was the other one that I was working on the other day. So I was going to play with some of these images and see if I could come up with yet more things. And I might play with, a Martin Luther King quote along with the Confederate flag. I might go look for rappers and look for some kind of lyrics from a famous rap song of some kind, just a couple of words really, and see if something from a rapper from hip hop music might work with some of this imagery and stuff like that. Or heck, maybe something from a country western song. All of these images and all of this, pretty much white culture is really proud of the idea that the Republican Party is the party of law and order. We are the law and order party and that kind of stuff. And so, just using the phrase, law and order party, or the party of law and order, and going, and superimposing that over this is a really interesting and powerful juxtaposition of imagery and ideas. So I might play with that a little bit. I'm going to stop share and come back to you guys. So, we brainstorm as artists, as designers. We brainstorm kind of trying out different ideas and juxtaposing different ideas and images together, trying to come up with things that we might consider powerful or profound that we can use, as a graphic design. And I don't want you guys to get too hung up on the idea that you have to be perfect, that your idea has to be super profound, that it's going to, become a viral sensation and take over the nation in terms of being able to offer new insights into the problems that we have with race in this culture. But by doing this, we take a baby step closer to becoming, better citizens, understanding each other better, and trying to not continue the injustice that we've seen in the past, and that we may even have been unwitting participants in the past. I'm going to look down here at the chat. Okay. Oh, thank you. I got a private message about a rapper who might be someone who has this kind of a message that I could play with. So I might look for those kind of lyrics. So thank you for that. I've been at this for about 47 minutes now, and this has been good. We've looked at a couple of images. We were exposed to the Sam Sanders article, which I'd like you guys to read. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to respond to it. You don't have to whatever, but at least let those ideas flow over you. And then we've looked at, your projects, which I'm very impressed with just from the beginning, from where we are halfway through this week. So this project is due on Monday, and then I'll still be taking them in until the end of the week next week. But Martin Luther King Day is Monday, and so Monday we don't have school. And so I'd like us, as a way of, thinking about social justice and civil rights issues, to wrap this project up on Monday if possible and get it turned in. And I appreciate those of you who got some early good licks in on this project. On Friday, we're going to do a little bit more of this kind of thing. We're going to continue to look at examples. Those of you who haven't had a chance yet, please bring your projects in, have it open on your desktop as an open document so that when we do screen share, you can then share your thing and get a little bit of feedback if you want. And they can be totally unfinished projects. They don't have to be the last, your last work on the project. Maybe you want a little bit of feedback so you know where to go with something if you feel like you're a little bit stuck and don't know how to proceed from a certain point in the project. So we'll do that on Friday. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will see you guys again on Friday morning. Thank you so much for keeping up with this. I know this is a tough project, especially something to open very first project in a quarter, but I appreciate your work and your thoughtfulness about this project. Until Friday at 9 o'clock, have a good rest of your week.